Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment when words stop being just noise and start becoming proof that you're not just someone he likes, but someone who has captured his heart. It's not in the rehearsed lines, not in the grand gestures, but in the way his tone changes, in the little things he says when no one else is listening. If you've ever wondered how to know when his heart is truly yours, pay attention, because when he talks to you like this, you've already won. And that's the key, isn't it? To be the place where his words feel at home. Because anyone can talk, anyone can string together sentences that sound good in the moment, but very few people make you feel like their words are anchored, like they are speaking from somewhere deep inside rather than just filling silence. When he talks to you in a way that makes you feel chosen, when every conversation carries with it a thread of intention, that's when you can feel the difference between passing interest and true emotional investment. It's not just that he talks often, it's how he chooses to talk when he could easily retreat. Pay attention to the moments when he could shut down, when he could hide behind distractions, when he could brush things off with a quick, "I'm fine." If instead he leans into those moments and shares, that's the real sign. It's easy to open up when life is light and fun. But when someone opens up in the heavier times, when they let their guard down and let you see behind the armor, that's when you know their heart has made the decision for them. You'll also notice that his words start to mirror a different kind of responsibility, not obligation, not duty, but desire. He begins to speak in a way that communicates he's aware of how his actions affect you. He'll say things like, "I don't want you to feel left out," or "I don't want to let you down." These aren't just phrases, they're adaptum. Missions of care. They reveal that your feelings are now part of his inner calculations. He measures his choices not only by how they impact him, but by how they might affect you. That's not a small shift. That's the shift of someone who has placed you inside his heart. When his heart is involved, the rhythm of conversation changes. You stop feeling like you have to pull words out of him. Instead, he offers them willingly. He shares his day without being prompted, not because the details themselves are extraordinary, but because telling you about them makes them matter more. He begins to connect the dots between his world and yours, and he wants you to see how those dots lead back to you. You'll also notice that his language takes on a quality of admiration. It's not just the shallow compliments that anyone can give. You're beautiful, you're sexy, you're amazing. Those may be nice, but they're also easy. What changes when his heart is involved is that he notices the things others miss. He tells you he admires how you handle pressure, how you light up a room when you laugh, how you always seem to remember the little things. He notices the texture of who you are, not just the surface. And when he gives words to those observations, it's his heart showing you that it's paying attention in the deepest way possible. Another shift you'll feel is in his patience. When someone is half in, they rush conversations, they cut corners, they don't bother to stay present. But when someone has given you their heart, they slow down. They don't see your words as background noise. They treat them as something to be understood, something to be valued. He'll pause to let you finish. He'll circle back if he thinks he missed something. He'll even admit when he didn't quite get it the first time and ask you to explain again. That's humility in conversation, and humility only shows up hence someone truly cares. There's also a sense of consistency that begins to emerge. His words stop being situational and start becoming steady. You don't feel whiplash from hot and cold communication. You don't feel like you're guessing whether he's still interested or not. Instead, his words create a rhythm, a reliability, a pulse that reassures you. And that's one of the clearest signs you've won his heart. When his communication feels like a place you can rest, not a roller coaster you have to endure. What's interesting is that when a man is falling for you, his words begin to carry an element of pride, not ego-driven pride, but the pride of having someone in his life he's genuinely excited about. You'll hear it in how he talks about you to others, and you'll feel it in the way he recounts stories involving you. He lights up when he mentions you. He frames you in a positive light. He positions you as a source of joy and meaning. That's his heart speaking through his voice, not just to you, but to the world around him. And here's something that often goes overlooked. When his heart belongs to you, his words are no longer just about what he gets from the relationship, but about what he gives. He'll talk about wanting to support you, about wanting to protect your peace, about wanting to be there when things get difficult. These aren't obligations he feels forced into. They're desires that flow naturally because his heart has chosen you. His language shifts from what do I want from this to how can I show up for her? You'll also feel the difference in the way he uses reassurance. When his heart is on the line, he doesn't leave you guessing. He doesn't keep you in the dark to maintain control. Instead, he says things like, I'm here, I've got you, I'm not going anywhere. These aren't empty promises. They're reflections of a choice he's already made. And the more he repeats them through actions and words, the more you realize that his heart is no longer a question mark. It's a steady presence. When someone is truly invested, their words also be. Begin to show courage. They'll risk saying the things that others might hold back. They'll tell you when they're afraid of losing you, when they're struggling with something internally, when they don't feel strong. That's not weakness, it's bravery. It takes courage to let someone see behind the mask. And when his heart is yours, that courage starts to flow more naturally because the fear of hiding becomes greater than the fear of revealing. Even the silences between his words start to feel different. When his heart is involved, you don't feel anxious when conversation slows. You don't feel the need to perform or keep filling the gaps. Instead, you feel comfortable. He creates a space where silence isn't awkward, it's peaceful. That's because his words aren't designed to cover up emptiness, they're designed to connect. And when the connection is strong enough, silence doesn't break it. Another beautiful sign shows up in the way he dreams out loud with you. When he talks about travel, he imagines you there. When he talks about goals, he envisions you beside him. When he thinks about challenges ahead, he frames them as something you can both overcome. He doesn't always have to say, "You're part of my future," because his words already weave you into it. That unconscious inclusion is the language of love written between the lines. When you've won his heart, you'll hear it in his apologies too. They stop being defensive or dismissive. They become genuine, heartfelt, and responsible. He doesn't try to minimize your feelings or explain away his actions. He says, "I hurt you and I'm sorry," or "I should have done better." That honesty and apology is one of the purest ways love speaks, because real love doesn't just want to be right, it wants to make things right. And then there are those moments when his words don't come out perfectly, when he stumbles, when he struggles to articulate what he's feeling. Don't overlook those, because sometimes the truest evidence of his heart isn't in eloquence, it's in the effort. The way he searches for the right words, the way he pauses, the way he tries again. That's love trying to find its voice. And that's just as powerful, if not more, than the polished lines he could rehearse. The language of a heart in love isn't flashy. It's not always loud. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's in the quiet reassurances, the thoughtful questions, the consistent check-ins, the way he says your name like it means something sacred. It's in the laughter that flows easily, the honesty that cuts through fear, the gentleness that softens his tone whenever it's directed at you. Because once his heart is in your hands, his words will follow. They'll shift, they'll soften, they'll deepen. And you won't have to ask yourself, does he really feel this way? Because every conversation, every exchange, every quiet moment will answer that question for you. His heart will speak through his words, and you'll know, not by guessing, not by hoping, but by hearing it woven into everything he says when he's with you. And you'll know it not because he crafts grand speeches or because every word is perfectly placed, but because his voice carries a truth that doesn't need decoration. You'll feel the difference between someone who's trying to keep you entertained and someone who's trying to keep you close. His words won't feel like a performance. They'll feel like an invitation. And that's when you'll realize the simplest conversations, ones that would seem ordinary to anyone else, become extraordinary because of the depth behind them. What often surprises people is how subtle it can be. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks or bold declarations. Sometimes it's as quiet as him remembering that you like your coffee a certain way and casually bringing it up in conversation. Sometimes is in the way he says, "I thought of you when," and finishes the sentence with something that shows he's been carrying you with him throughout his day. When he talks like that, he's showing you that his inner world isn't just his anymore. It's become a place where you live too. Another thing you'll notice is that his words begin to reflect consistency with his actions. They're no longer hollow promises or empty gestures. He doesn't just say, "I'll be there." He shows up. He doesn't just say, "I care." He proves it in the small, everyday ways. That alignment between what he says and what he does is one of the strongest indicators you've captured his heart. Because when someone is only half invested, their words and actions rarely match. But when his heart belongs to you, his language becomes a mirror of his behavior. There's a gentleness that begins to flow through his speech. Even when you're joking or teasing each other, it's the kind of gentleness that reassures you that you're safe, that even in moments of playfulness, there's an underlying respect. It's in the way he avoids words that could cut you down, even accidentally. It's in the way he chooses to build you up rather than tear you down, because love makes him careful with his language. He's not just thinking about what he wants to say. He's thinking about how his words will land with you. When he's really let you in, his words begin to carry a certain vulnerability. He'll tell you when he's scared, when he's uncertain, when he's doubting himself. And he'll do it not because he's trying to burden you, but because he trusts you enough to hold those pieces of him. Vulnerability is one of the most profound languages of love. And when it starts showing up in the way he talks, it's a clear sign his heart is already yours. You'll also notice that his language stops being transactional. He's not just talking to get something from you, your attention, your affection, your approval. Instead, his words become expressions of genuine connection. He talks to you because he wants to, not because he needs a response that benefits him. This kind of language is free of agenda, and that freedom is what makes it so powerful. It tells you he's not trying to win a game, he's trying to build something real. There's also a kind of pride in his words that becomes evident, not arrogance, but pride in having you in his life. He'll talk about you to others in a way that shows admiration and respect. He'll tell his friends stories that highlight how amazing you are. He'll bring up moments that made him proud to be with you. That pride seeps into his tone when he speaks to you as well. It's in the way he tells you he appreciates the way you handled something, or how he's impressed by the way you live your life. That pride is his heart speaking in gratitude for having you by his side. And then there's the way his words begin to create safety. You'll notice he makes an effort to reassure you, not because you demand it, but because he genuinely wants you to feel secure. He'll say things like, "You don't have to worry about that," or "I'm not going anywhere." And he'll mean them. That reassurance becomes part of his natural vocabulary because love makes him want to anchor you in certainty. He doesn't want you to feel unsettled. He wants you to feel steady. When his heart belongs to you, his words start to show curiosity too. He asks you questions, not just about what you're doing, but about what you're feeling, what you're dreaming of, what you're afraid of. He wants to peel back the layers of who you are, not out of obligation, but out of genuine fascination. He wants to know what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night, what you secretly hope for. That curiosity in his words is love leaning forward, leaning closer, leaning into you. Another sign is that his language begins to soften during conflict. Instead of sharp retorts or dismissive remarks, he chooses words that invite resolution. He may say, "Help me understand," instead of "You're wrong." He may say, "I don't want to fight with you," instead of escalating the tension. That kind of language shows that his goal isn't to win the argument, it's to protect the relationship. And that only happens when his heart has already chosen you over his ego. You'll notice too that his words begin to reflect vision. He talks about things not just in the context of today, but in the context of tomorrow. He might casually say, "When we go there next time," Or, imagine us doing this one day. Those phrases might seem small, but they're monumental. They show that in his mind you're not just part of his present, you're part of his future. His language naturally extends you into the timeline of his life, and that extension is love putting its roots down. There's also a softness that comes when he uses your name. It may sound simple, but when his heart is invested, the way he says your name changes. It carries a warmth, a tenderness, a kind of reverence. It's no longer just a label. It's his way of holding you close, even in speech. Pay attention to that, because names carry energy, and when someone's heart is involved, even something as small as the way they say your name becomes a love language in itself. And perhaps one of the most telling signs is that he begins to use words of accountability. He doesn't shy away from saying, "I was wrong," or "I should have done better." Accountability in language is a reflection of maturity in love. It shows that he's not just invested in feeling good in the moment, he's invested in making the relationship strong and lasting. Those words may not be glamorous, but they're some of the most powerful you'll ever hear, because they prove that his love is bigger than his. It's pride. His words also start to build traditions between the two of you. Maybe it's inside jokes, maybe it's little phrases you repeat to each other, maybe it's nicknames that no one else would understand. These shared languages become markers of intimacy, little verbal fingerprints that belong only to the two of you, and when those start to show up, it's because his heart is already binding itself to yours. Notice also how his words shift in moments of absence. When you're not around, he makes an effort to reach out, to check in, to stay connected. He doesn't let silence stretch into doubt. His messages may be simple: miss you, thinking of you, hope you're okay, but they're consistent. And consistency is the echo of a heart that doesn't want distance to weaken the bond. And as his heart becomes more entwined with yours, his words take on a depth that can't be faked. He'll tell you things like, "You inspire me," "You make me better," or "I can't imagine my life without you." These aren't just romantic lines, they're reflections of the transformation you've sparked in him. When someone is truly in love, their words begin to reveal not just how they feel about you, but how they feel about themselves when they're with you. That's one of the clearest signs of all, that his heart is not only yours, but that being with you makes him want to rise to his best self. Because love doesn't just show up in grand gestures, it shows up in the way someone talks to you every single day. And when you've won his heart, you'll hear it everywhere, in his reassurances, in his vulnerabilities, in his visions of the future, in his everyday care. His words won't just tell you that he loves you, they'll show you over and over again that his heart has already been given. And it's in that showing that the real beauty lies, because once his words begin to reflect what his heart feels, you don't have to look for hidden clues anymore. You don't need to decode every sentence or analyze every pause. His communication stops being a puzzle you're desperate to solve and starts being a mirror of the connection you've built together. It's no longer about trying to catch signs. It's about being present enough to recognize what's already there. When he speaks to you from that place, there's a rhythm to it, a steadiness that makes you feel grounded. You don't feel that nagging sense of uncertainty because his tone communicates stability. You hear consistency in the way he reaches out, in the way he checks on you, in the way he shares his world. And that consistency builds trust. Trust isn't built through one grand statement, it's built through 1,000 little ones, repeated over time, until your heart begins to relax and believe that this is real. Another layer you'll notice is that his words begin to reveal parts of him he doesn't show anyone else. He lets you in on the private thoughts, the doubts he hides, the quiet dreams he doesn't voice in public. That level of disclosure is not casual. It's intimate, because for many people, vulnerability is the scariest thing they can give. But when he starts to talk to you like that, it's because he's already given you his trust. He's already decided that you're the person who can hold those truths without judgment. And you'll feel it when he starts using language that reflects partnership. He'll talk about us and we without hesitation. He'll include you in decisions, in plans, in ideas for the future. That language isn't rehearsed. It's organic. It spills out because in his mind, the picture already includes you. That's when you know it's not just attraction or infatuation anymore. His heart has gone beyond the moment and started to imagine a shared life. You'll also hear it in the way he speaks about challenges. Instead of pulling back or hiding, he'll lean in. He'll say things like, "We'll figure this out," or "We'll get through it." That choice of words is everything. It shows he's not preparing for an exit when things get hard. He's not looking for the escape hatch. He's communicating that his commitment runs deeper than convenience. His heart has already decided that challenges aren't a reason to leave. They're a reason to grow closer. And then there's the tenderness in his tone. When someone truly cares, their voice changes. It softens even when they're tired, even when they're stressed. You'll hear a gentleness reserved just for you, a way of speaking that carries protection, affection, and care. It's not something he consciously performs. It's a natural shift that comes when his heart has already aligned with yours. That softness is love making itself audible. Another subtle but powerful sign is that his words will start to show gratitude. He won't take you for granted. He'll say, "Thank you for being here," or "I appreciate what you did," or "I don't know what I'd do without you." These aren't just pleasantries. They're reflections of a man who recognizes the value you bring to his life. Gratitude in words is one of the strongest indicators of love because it shows that he doesn't just see you, he cherishes you. You'll also notice the way he reassures you in small, everyday ways. He'll say things that remind you you're important even when you don't ask for it. He'll tell you he misses you before you wonder if he does. He'll tell you he's proud of you before you question whether he notices. That proactive reassurance is the voice of love. It's him making sure you don't live in doubt because your peace matters to him as much as his own. When his heart is invested, even the casual things he says carry weight. A quick "drive safe," a simple "text me when you get home," or an easy "good luck today" are more than routine phrases. They're the verbal expressions of care, small but constant reminders that you're always on his mind. Love doesn't always sound dramatic. More often it sounds ordinary, but with an intensity of meaning underneath that makes the ordinary extraordinary. And when you've won his heart, his words begin to build a world for you to both live in. He creates a shared language between you, phrases only you two understand, little jokes, recurring references. These are the verbal fingerprints of intimacy. They may not mean much to anyone else, but to the two of you, they're everything. They're proof that he sees your connection as unique, that he's weaving together a private world only you share. You'll also hear love in the way he admits when he doesn't have it all figured out. He won't pretend to have every answer or solution. Instead, he'll say, "I don't know, but I want to figure it out with you." That humility is love speaking. Because when someone isn't afraid to show imperfection in front of you, it means they trust that your love isn't conditional on them being flawless. That's the kind of honesty that only comes when the heart has already surrendered. Sometimes his words will come out in the form of dreams. He'll tell you the things he's always wanted but never said out loud. He'll share visions of the future, not as a performance but as an unveiling of what really matters to him. And you'll notice he speaks differently when those dreams include you. There's a spark, an energy, a sense of aliveness that comes through because to him the dream feels more real with you in it. That's not coincidence. That's his heart revealing that you're not just in his life, you're in his vision. You'll feel his heart in the way he responds to your vulnerability as well. When you open up, when you share your fears or doubts, his words won't minimize you. He won't brush it off or make you feel weak. Instead, he'll say, "I understand," or "I'm here," or "You don't have to go through this alone." Those words aren't about solving everything. They're about standing with you in it. And that's what love sounds like. Presence, not pressure. As his love deepens, his words will start to give you a sense of belonging. He'll say things like, "You're part of this," or "I want you there," or "It wouldn't be the same without you." Those aren't just invitations to moments. They're invitations into his life. His heart is telling you through his language that he doesn't see his world as complete unless you're in it. And then there's the way his words shift during moments of joy. He won't just celebrate for himself, he'll celebrate with you. He'll say, "We did it," even when it was your achievement. He'll say, "I'm so proud of you," with genuine excitement. Love shows itself not just in how someone comforts you during struggle, but in how they uplift you during triumph. His words will amplify your victories because your happiness feels like his own. Perhaps one of the clearest signs comes in the way he begins to articulate commitment without being asked. He'll say, "I want this," or "I'm in this with you," or "I'm not going anywhere." He won't wait for you to pull it out of him. He'll offer it freely because it's already the truth in his heart. When someone loves you, their words will eventually reflect that commitment, and it won't sound forced. It will sound inevitable. Even in the smallest exchanges, you'll hear it. In the good morning that starts your day, in the good night that ends it, in the check-ins in between. The words themselves may be simple, but the meaning is profound. Because behind them is a heart that's chosen to stay connected, to keep the line between you open no matter what the day holds. That's the beauty of words when they're infused with love. They stop being just sound. They become anchors, bridges, lifelines. They carry intention, they carry weight, they carry care. And once you've won his heart, you'll hear it not just in the grand declarations, but in the quiet, consistent, everyday ways he speaks to you. His heart will always find a way to speak, and it will always sound like home,